Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. Pictures of the Nashville, Tennessee trans shooters manifesto are now out. While the feds and local police worked to keep it hidden since March 27th, 3 pages of that manifesto have been leaked to conservative media. Stephen Crowder, host of Louder with Crowder, was the first to publish these images today. Assuming these images are the real deal, then it's no wonder why this manifesto is kept hidden from us despite multiple failed promises to have it released. Because in these pages, the trans gun woman who killed 6 at the Covenant School, including 3 9-year-old students, had an intense hatred and obsession with killing white people. She calls the young children attending the school little crackers who needed to die to pay for their white privilege. I think we can be sure the Biden administration and the DOJ and the FBI, they all knew the contents of this manifesto, and yet they purposely hid it in order to keep up the charade of white supremacy being the biggest threat to our nation and to the entire world. They want you to think that any little criticism of their agenda will lead to literal violence against non-white people, and they have 0 examples, absolutely none, of conservatives doing so. Well, they openly and virulently dehumanize white people, knowing the repercussions that such language has, because I could rattle off for you a bunch of recent examples where random white people were targeted, assaulted, or even killed explicitly for their skin color or their affiliation with being on the right. Just think about that case we talked about last week before I went on vacation, where the black ringleader of a black group of teens and one young adult who kidnapped a mentally disabled white teenager held him hostage for several days, where they tortured him, including cutting parts of his scalp out and making him drink toilet water. They live streamed the abuse online for those who cheered them on, and they made the kid say he hated white people and that he hated Trump. Well, that ringleader got out early from prison, over a year early, instead of serving his 8-year prison sentence. Some white supremacist system we have, right? Now, what I'm trying to say is that evil, racism, genocide, or whatever, it can affect anyone. White people are not magically immune to such victimization because of made-up ideologies about power dynamics. We bleed and die too. And yet white people like this trans Covenant School shooter are typically right there being the biggest cheerleaders for their own suicide. It's godless nihilism for you. The rest of the world doesn't operate like that, and they will gladly take such a self-defeating worldview to conquer you and to give you some serious doubts about all that nihilism garbage, because it's literally a luxury belief. Someone who has no actual fear that a new majority of people who openly reject the Christian, tolerant, moral value system of respecting the lives of all minorities will actually take over and subjugate them, they're going to be the same ones to advocate for that very future, not expecting it to really happen, or even naively believing that respect for religious freedom, freedom of speech, and these other ideals are shared by all cultures and all beliefs. They are not. And now that we're beginning to see the contents of this manifesto, many are asking the next big question. What psych meds or hormones like testosterone was the shooter on? And did that contribute at all to her mental state? Plenty of mass shooters in recent years have all been on drugs, either listed or illicit drugs, so it's worth asking about. Joining us now to discuss all this some more is former law enforcement officer Mike Pugliese, the founder of the Pugliese Law Firm. Mike, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, Kara, for having me. Yeah, let's all go back to March 29th. And where we were. Well, we were at the big narrative that white supremacy was the ruling domestic terror problem that encompassed most of the FBI. Specifically, they were targeting Christians. I'm talking about the FBI was targeting Christian extremism, even to the point of saying that the Latin Catholic Mass was somehow anti-democratic, and they put in surveillance of the FBI to surveil people going to church. And we were told that the biggest problem was that white supremacy caused what? Well, it caused anti-Semitism. It caused transphobia, Islamophobia. They named it. All these people became victims at the hands of white supremacy. Then we were told, then came along the big Trans Day of Vengeance. Well, that was somewhat succumbed to this trans man that decided to go on a shooting rampage. And then we were told by the Nashville City Council and FBI that they had to thoroughly review the manifesto before they could release the contents. And we were told that it was so dangerous to public safety that it just could not be released.